Central Excise. Sri R. Mangababu sir belongs to the 1988 batch of IRS Custom and Central Excise. He did masters in arts and with history and law from Nagarjuna University. During his 3 decades of service, worked in various capacity in Mumbai, Chennai, Kolkata, Hyderabad, Salem, Siliguri, Visakhapatnam, Guntur, and Patna. Under his supervision and guidance, officers have performed exceptionally well, recovered revenue to the tune of more than rupees 500 crores from upbeating numbers of anti-evasion and anti-smuggling cases. Modus operandi of some of the anti-smuggling cases unearthed during his tenure of unique nature and have pan-India ramification. He also actively participated and attended various seminars, workshops in USA, Canada, Nepal, and Bhutan, etc. After taking over the charge as the Zonal Chief Commissioner, he has interacted with trade, commerce, and zone, assuring and requesting them for proper cooperation to and through the Zonal CGST Authority. He also convened a meeting with Paradip Port Authority and other stakeholders at Paradip, emphasizing therein for better coordination for achieving better result and growth. Thank you, sir, for acceptance of our invitation. Sri V.S. Datesar is a BTech honors, FCS and FCMA, worked for 27 years in corporate field at senior levels in leading listed companies as company secretary and general manager finance. During 1966 and to 1993, he started his career as an author on books relating to indirect taxes in 1993. Presently, he is concentrating on writing books on topics relating to GST, custom law, insolvency law, and other corporate laws. All his books are published by Taxman New Delhi. Books written by Sri V.S. Datesar have been prescribed for professional examination like CA, CS, and ICMA, and are also widely referred by the professional and departmental officers. Sri Datesar is based in Pune, Maharashtra. In indirect taxation, CMA CS Datesar has created a unique identity among students and professionals. Thank you, sir, for acceptance of our invitation. CMA SP Padhi, sir, our own and well known to all of us. He has done his master in commerce as well as master in business management in finance area. He was admitted as a fellow member of Institute of Cost Accountants of India in 2005. He is also a fellow member of Insurance Institute of India and an associate member of Indian Institute of Insurance Surveyors and Loss Assessors. Seme Padi started working in a manufacturing company at middle level management and then spent 6 years in full-time academic before starting his full-time practice as a cost and management accountant in the year 2013. He is the former Dean Academic of IMIS Bhubaneswar and offer papers as a visiting faculty in XIMB, IMIS, Xavier University, Ravenshaw University, KIT University, and few other business schools. He has taken session at XLRI Jamshedpur on different subjects. Seme Padi was the chairman of the Institute of Cost Accountant of India, Eastern Indian Regional Council for the year 2015 and 16, and also Bhubaneswar chapter during the year 2008 and 9. Seme Padi is basically a practice cost accountant and a lot of deliberation given on GST and also a corporate trainer on GST. Thank you, Seme Padi sir, for your continued support. Seme H. Padmanabh sir, Council Member, Chairman, Regional Council and Chapter Coordination Committee, CAT Committee, and Seme Niranjan Mishra sir, our mentor and advisor. He is the Council Member and Chairman, Indirect Taxation Committee of the Institute of Cost Accountants of India. I need not feel to introduce them as they are part of our host. Now I request to CMA Niranjan Mishra sir to address.
Good evening, dear Chairman, Sime Mukesh Chaudhary, Sime Satyendra Singh ji, immediate past Chairman and PD Committee Chairman of the Bhubaneswar chapter, one of the vibrant chapter in the region, and Honorable R. Mangababu sir, IRS, Chief Commissioner CGST, Bhubaneswar Zone, CMA VS Datta sir, India Tax Guru, and mentor to Tax Research Department, CMA H. Padmanabhan sir, my colleague in the council, Chairman ASEAN Chapter Coordination Committee, CAT Committee, and he is the hero of the today's occasion because when I started on first day of July 2020, GST Celebration Week, it was the day of the council. From 2nd July to 6th July end, is the charge of all regional council and chapters to conduct the program in the respective location, inviting the members, stakeholders from the respective location and other members maybe from outside their periphery. CMSP party, well-known face among the members of Odisha, not only Odisha, Eastern region, and also national figure. Because when I took the charge in the year 2017 as the chairman taxation committee, at that time we tried to do some visibility. We tried to create some visibility and presence
हाँ सर
before the members and stakeholders in the taxation area. At that time,
हाँ ठीक है देख
ample number of
लिए
passionate CMA members, expert in India taxation like B.S. Datta sir, Dr. Sanjay Bhargave from Pune, CMA Anil Sharma from Chandigarh, CMA
उधर
Sipadi from
उल्टा आ
Bhubaneswar,
गया है
CMA Niranjan Swami from Bhubaneswar, CMA Mrutyunjay from Kolkata, CMA B.M. Gupta from
वो
Hyderabad.
कैसे करना है पीसी में जाके
Like that, lot of people, lot of members came forward to support the TRD for during the presence of TRD before the CBI and CBDT. When the GST was rolled out in the midnight of 30 June 2017, with the initiative of our CMA H. Padmanabhan, the present councilman at that time, he was also council member. He has given you a suggestion at that time. The global summit was going on in Kolkata, and Padmanabhan sir told, let us observe GST Day from 1st July so that we can help the government of India to implement the GST pan-India successfully. And immediately we have observed GST Day on 1st July 2017. And after that, every year we are observing the GST Day on 1st July. And not at this whole program, it was celebrated pan-India. But due to this pandemic COVID-19, it was not possible for us to organize physically, though we have booked Vigyan Bhavan for 1st July, and we have also requested our honorable finance minister to inaugurate. But thanks to all my colleagues, council colleagues, president, vice president, mostly CMA H. Padmanabhan, who is the real hero of from 2nd to 6th July. We have conducted successfully. 1st July, we have inaugurated with the presence of our honorable MP Srimati Aparajita Sarangi, Mr. Ajit Kumar sir, IRS chairman CBI were there. We have the people from GSTN, GST Council, NASIN, and so we are observing the validity session with one panel discussion where R. Mangababu sir, who is here also as the chief guest, will be there. Sri Ajay Saxena, IRS, Principal Commissioner, CGST, Bangalore will be there. Madam Nitur Prasad, Commissioner of Commercial Tax, Telangana will be there. Sri Ashwini Vaishnav, Rajya Sabha MP from Odisha, he will be there. Tomorrow will be validity session. Before coming to my speech, I want to say a few words about the performance of our tax departments. The tax departments working relentlessly with the support of the people, some department staff, our tax department secretary, and some employees. And we have the support of about 50 plus resource persons pan India. We are releasing fortnightly tax bulletins. We are conducting the GST certificate course pan India. As of now, we have trained 5,000 members and non-members to support the respective office in the GST implementation. Not only that, to support the government, to support the stakeholders. As many as suggestions for streamlining of GST we have submitted to CBIC. As of now, we have conducted about 1,200 seminars pan-India from the GST rollout, about 750 webinars, and released about 18 small handbooks on different topics of GST, sector specific on GST, GST in regulated sector, impact of GST in MSME sector, impact of GST in cooperative sector, input tax credit, and it has been well appreciated by the government officials and our members. Today, with the august presence of CMA Vijay Datte, Intertax Guru, and CM SP Padi, the eminent resource persons of tax departments, I hope the participants will enjoy the session. Jai Jagannath. Namaskar. Now I'll
Thank you,
over.
sir. Hello. Thank you, sir, for nice. Now I would like to request CMA H. Padmanabhan sir to address. Sir, namaskar.
Namaskar and thank you so much, Shaktidhar sir. Namaskar.
Namaskar, sir. Namaskar.
Immediate
Namaskar.
former chairman of the Institute of Cost Accountants of India, Bhubaneswar, and Mukesh Bhai, the current dynamic young chairman of the Bhubaneswar chapter of Cost Accountants. Both of you and Niranjan Bhai was telling one of the best chapter in Eastern region. I will tell it is the best, one of the best chapters pan globe. I will tell, because I know the activities of Bhubaneswar chapter of Cost Accountants, and for the first time we brought that Odisha state level chapters meet, and you have taken it in right spirit in pan India. This is the only state which is organizing along with all the chapters. Hearty congratulations to Bhubaneswar chapter of Cost Accountants for the excellent effort taken. And as Shaktidhar Singh sir told, best wishes to the management committee. Of course, it is for 4 years, but new office bearers have come. And I am very happy that youngsters are there, including Samal Kumar, I saw as the one of the organizers with Mukesh sir and Shaktidhar sir. So respected and our honorable Guru, I should tell Mahaguru V.S. Datte sir, my dearest younger brother SP Padi sir. He is a personality who is available for any topic we give, including engineering, including insurance, or including actuaries, or for that matter, any professional matter. We are very happy for him. And yes, Manga Babu sir, IRS is very much here, honorable chief guest for this today's webinar program. And my own younger brother, or rather elder brother, Niranjan Mishra sir, a dynamic personality in the council who is working at 24/7 hours, I should tell. And Honorable President of the Institute of Cost Accountants of India, Balwinder Singh sir, and Honorable Vice President of the Institute of Cost Accountants of India, Bisrup Dada, has once again given a chance to Niranjan Bhai and Rakesh Balla sir to work under Direct Tax and Indirect Taxation Committee. And I am very happy, as you told, when Pranab Mukherjee sir, the then Honorable President of India, when I was the chairman, he came for our global summit and we could declare, along with the government of India, that the Institute of Cost Accountants of India is the only institute who, along with the government, is celebrating GST Day from 2017 onwards. This is the 4th year. That is 3 years are completed, right? And I am very happy that Honorable Chief Commissioner Manga Babu is here. I should tell one thing to Manga Babu sir, that we welcome you for tomorrow's event also. Our Honorable Member of Parliament from Bhubaneswar, Ashwini Vaishnav sir, is going to come. The inauguration was done by another Odisha MP. I am her fan, Abhijita Sarangi madam. And Manga Babu sir, we have met so many IRS people during the course of conducting more than 1,200 programs for the past 1 or 2 years. And I should tell you, including you, sir, anybody for that matter, IRS means you are very simple and very friendly and very much cooperative for our institute also. Thank you so much for coming in our event. So nice of you. And we welcome you for tomorrow's event, sir. That is a concluding day, the 7 days we are celebrating, and Pan India, many regions, many chapters are organizing, and for the first time we have the blessings, maybe blessings of Lord Jagannatha, like everybody are telling. First time we have got a chief commissioner. So thank you very much, Manga Babu sir, for being with our
It
institute.
is my pleasure, and I will be there.
Yes, it's so nice of you, sir. Sir, for your information, Bhubaneswar chapter has hit a hat trick. 3 times they have conducted national seminar for 3 days in Bhubaneswar, and Pan India top class personalities, faculty members like V.S. Datte sir, who is amidst us, Shiva Padi sir is there. So many faculty members have traveled to Bhubaneswar and made it. Had it been no pandemic, definitely we would have enjoyed a live physical program, sir. But everything is for good. Let us take it like that, so that we are learning something in this, and we will do a lot of programs online also. And I heartily congratulate the taxation committee of the Institute of Cost Accountants of India. Manga Babu sir, just on 1st July, we released the 67th fortnightly tax bulletin was released by Abhijita Sarangi madam, member of parliament from Odisha. So that is the way fortnightly publications are being brought and appreciated by the honorable members, dignitaries like you, Manga Babu sir, that our institute is bringing out such publication for the benefit of the members, for the students, for the stakeholders, and lot of important courses are also being conducted Pan India, so that non-members of the institute, those who are not students of the institute, they are also permitted and they have qualified the courses conducted by our institute. So, not taking much of the time, because I also would love to listen to our honorable chief guest, Manga Babu sir. And tomorrow also, sir, will be. My name is Padmanabhan, Manga Babu sir.
Yes.
They call me Padman Bhai. I am from Kerala, Trivandrum, and right now I am in Chennai. And I have to be in Chennai because of pandemic. We are not allowed to travel. Also, it is like that. But no issue for that. So I welcome you to come once to our own place, Trivandrum, Kerala, a beautiful place. You will also love to come there, because that state is also implementing GST in a very nice. And wish you all the best, Manga Babu sir, that our citizens, let them earn more, so that you also get more tax. And the tax which you all are collecting, you are spending it for the welfare of the citizens of the country only. So that way, I will pray that let more and more people get more and more income and more this thing, and give revenue to the your department, and ultimately it is going to again come for the welfare of the citizens of the country only. So thank you so much, Shaktidhar Singh sir. I am very happy that today I could meet all of you virtual mode. And once again, my pranam to our V.S. Datte sir, and my love and affection for my dearest, the hope of the institute, future of our institute, SP Padi sir, and hearty congratulations to Niranjan Mishra sir for his untiring efforts. And despite some tragedy in his house, still he is with the profession, doing all the karmas and other things, but he is with the institute also. May Jagannatha, Lord Jagannatha bless all of us for a bright future. Thank you, and my namaskars to our honorable chief commissioner Manga Babu sir also. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'll be attending from the background behind the screen, Manga Babu sir, because only 4 are permitted in the screen. So we are here listening to you like other attendees, sir. It is watched pan globe, sir. I have circulated to some of our friends. They are watching from the USA, Australia, and other places also. They confirm that they are going to watch. So thank you very much for making it a global event, Manga Babu sir. Thank you.
Thank you,
Namaskar.
H. Padmanabhan sir, for your all-time support and cooperation to Bhubaneswar chapter.
Welcome, sir. My pleasure, sir.
Sir. Now, sir, R. Manga Babu sir, namaskar, sir.
Namaskar.
Due to preoccupation of R. Manga Babu sir, I would now request him to address. Hello.
Good evening.
Sir.
CMA Shaktidhar Singh Chairman PD Committee, CMA Niranjan Mishra, Council Member and Chairman Indirect Taxation, CMA H. Padmanabhan, Council Member and Chairman Regional Councils and Chapters Coordination, and the CMA Mukesh Chaube, Chairman Bhubaneswar Chapter. First and foremost, I would like to take this opportunity to wish all our members on the occasion of third GST Day celebrations a warm greetings to each and every member, and everybody a message: be safe and be at home. We all know GST has started 3 years back. Before that also, we are all stakeholders here. We all know how the GST has evolved. Basically, when GST was introduced, there were a lot of teething problems. Slowly, we have evolved and sorted out a lot of problems which were there at that point of time, which are very simple problems, but still that created a big panic among all SSEs and stakeholders. But with the great coordination and cooperation from the government and all stakeholders, everything was resolved, and now we have reached such a stage. We are not only standing, now we started walking and we started even running also. But unfortunately, 3 months back, 4 months back, this epidemic has come in between, and the economy has become a big effect was affected to economy, including a revenue of GST. Now, regarding the GST, there are speakers, they will be going to attend and explaining various aspects of what the government has recently taken some measures which are very helpful to the SSEs, which is going to be ease the doing business. I definitely say that it is not one government only can do this. This has to pass on to all stakeholders. In the process, the role of the cost accountant institution and like chartered accountant, other advocates, consultants, each and every one of you have a great role to play in getting the coordination to take these measures to the SSCs, and so that everybody get the benefits of it, and in turn that benefits will yield to a revenue generation, which in turn is a useful for nation building. I really admire when Padmanabhan sir and Secretary Singh sir was mentioning about how your institution has conducted so many seminars and stood almost all this Bhubaneswar chapter stood number 1 in India. I really appreciate this, and I think it is a big privilege for me to address all our members. I take this as a great opportunity, and I really, it is a great privilege for me. Regarding the technicalities, I don't want to go much because that is already there and others are covering that thing. I only request what all the cost accountants who are into with their SSCs, please guide them and advise them properly. There are some mischievous elements, SSCs, who are taking this advantage of this transition period. They have done a lot of such activities, fraudulent transactions, which has caused a great loss to the government of India. There, and some deliberately have done, some unknowingly also have done. So wherever it is guidance needed, I request all the cost accountant fraternity, please advise properly your SSCs and bring them to any problem to us. We are all there to serve you, SSCs. We are here because of SSCs are there, not that they are there because of us. Our main role, our main intention, our main contention is that only. From Bhubaneswar zone of GST, CGST, I would assure all of you to take up the issues with the department, and I will ensure the department will address those problems within time frame and also with the proper solution. I would assure this to all our members. Please take this with the SSCs. There are recently, after this COVID has started, government has taken some measures to ease the business. Some of them, all of you know that some waiver of and reduction of fees of GST 3Bs, and also some SMS based return filing, which is very easy. Just a SMS can be sent when there is no transaction, nil GST. And also during this pandemic period, there was a great effort by our Honorable Finance Minister and our board to give all the refunds, whether it is IGST or GST, or all refunds within time frame of 60 days, and we have done it within time of 30 days. I think more than 30 to 45,000 crores have been distributed, have been sanctioned as a refund in all over the country. This is one achievement. Normally, it takes 60 days, or sometimes it exceeds also. That is a normal rule. But this time, in spite of our problems, in spite of our shortage of staff, we could do it, and we have done it with the great help of and encouragement of our board, honorable board, particularly our chairman, Sri Ajit Kumar Saab. He has taken a tremendous interest, and he was after each and every of our zones, and then we could able to do it. And this is one great achievement I could very well say that department has done. Like that, many are there in the process. Slowly, we are doing it. Lot of things you will come to know that. So I would again take this opportunity to greet once again on this occasion, and I was also interested to know how these technical committees will give their address, and note any point which we want to take action. I will take note down that, and I will give my full consent. If any problem, we are there for you. And I once again give my sincere thanks to the committee and all the members for giving me this opportunity. And I will be attending tomorrow also, valedictory function. And I will take this as my great privilege giving it to me. Thank you. Thank you, Singh sir.
Thank you, sir, for your nice deliberation and advice to our members. Your kind presence enlightened us. Uh, we'll, sir, again meet tomorrow. Thank you, sir. Once again, namaskar, sir.
Namaskar.
Now, I would like to request CMA Shiva Prasad Padi, sir, to address.
Very good evening, one and all. My compliments to the chairman and congratulations for assuming the responsibility. And we are honored with the presence of Sri R. Manga Babu, IRS Chief Commissioner. We are equally honored with the presence of our dearest teacher, mentor, guide, author V.S. Date sir. We are indeed grateful for the council members, and I could see various senior members and invitees attending this maybe Niranjan Swami sir, Antaryami Acharya sir, Ramesh Jana sir, Advocate LD Sahu sir, Bankim Mishra sir, Vaskar Mahapatra sir, Jagdish Nanda, and many more senior members are attending. Very good evening to all of you. It's 7:15 and I'll take around 25 minutes for the presentation. I have a very specific presentation relating to the measures which government has announced in respect to COVID-19. All these activities and notifications and discussion started from later part of March 2020. If you remember, this COVID-19 was declared as a pandemic on probably 12th of March by WHO. And the government of India started taking measures. In fact, I will just refer the whole of decisions taken by the government in relation to Atmanirbhar, and in relation to the government, a lot of relief measures and relaxation measures were equally announced, keeping pandemic COVID-19 in mind. And I'll try to touch upon as much issues as possible. I'm referring the notifications and circulars and various literature, including articles and opinions and statements. And I hope during the question answer session, we can probably discuss more issues if I have left out any. And we are honored that VS Date sir is here who can guide us from the front. I hope the PPT is visible to everyone. In fact, when we talk about the benefits and the reliefs and relaxation measures that was given to the taxpayers in the context of COVID-19, it all came in the form of extension in timelines by various compliances under GST law,
in the car.
including the due date of return filing, and a
Adi
lot of
Adi
efforts
sir is
were made by the department, both in direct as well as in indirect tax.
afterwards,
They
Mr.
different process
That
even
is
in import, and late fee waiver was a major support to the taxpayers. We are going to discuss them in detail, of course, but I want to highlight that government extended their support to the 1.23 crore taxpayers in form of these measures. Even interest was waived for delayed payment of tax than the due date. Even though friends, simplified, Mangababu sir was just referring how today someone can file nil GSTR 3B and nil GSTR 1 just by sending an SMS. They have made that process effective now. The validity of e-way bill was even extended for the initial period, and the most significant benefit, which probably helped in a big way in respect to the cash flow of taxpayers, is deferring the provision of sub-rule 4 of Rule 36, which is pertaining to ITC. So our discussion will basically be relating to these 7 issues. When I will, in fact, start with this recent amendment which has been made, which is a big relief. In fact, I was going through an article which stated that around 12 lakh taxpayers are going to get a benefit from this provision. This is a very useful provision for which particularly a lot of non-filing by taxpayers will probably be will probably be possible now. This notification 52, which came on 24th of June 2020, provides that the maximum late fee for filing a GSTR 3B will be rupees 500, 250 for CGST and 250 for SGST. And from the day one, that is 1st July 2017, or the taxable period is July 2017 to January 2020, anybody who wants to now file a GSTR 3B, and if he has to file of 3B having a tax component or any other component like availment of ITC or supply of a taxable supply, then the maximum late fee that the taxpayer has to pay is 500, and this will probably help many taxpayers to regularize their non-filings. And the condition is such filing of GSTR 3B is to be done from the period 1st of July to 30th of September. Today is 6th of July, so July, August, September. The taxpayers have around 3 months time to file all their GSTR 3Bs by paying a maximum late fee of 500 rupee per return. When we say per return, it is per month. If there is a nil GSTR 3B, then there is no late fee is to be paid, but it has to be a nil return. Oh, sir. Hope I'm audible to all of you, because I just got a call that I'm not audible, but I hope, let me increase my volume. I've made it 100% now. Hope I'm audible to all of you now. Okay. Now, another very important benefit which taxpayers got during this COVID-19 situation is the due date of filing GSTR 3B. In fact, yes, sir. Hello. Hello. Uh, can someone confirm whether I'm audible or not? I'll request someone to please confirm whether I'm audible or not.
You are audible, but it is low. I can hear you. I'm Dr. here. I can hear you, but
Okay.
it is low.
Okay, fine. So using a I'm using a earplug. Hope I'll be audible now. Am I Is it
Now
better,
it is
sir?
better.
Okay.
Now it is better.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Now, another very important benefit that taxpayers were awarded with, or rather were provided with during this pandemic situation is the due date of filing GSTR 3B and GSTR 1. In fact, many people think that the due date has been changed, but actually the due date has not been changed for filing GSTR 3B and GSTR 1. Only taxpayers are allowed to file their GSTR 3B and GSTR 1 up to an extended date. And if you look at this slide, you will find that the date has been extended for taxpayers who have been divided in three categories. One category is taxpayers who have aggregate turnover of more than 5 crores during the preceding financial year, and for them the due date has been extended. For example, if you talk about the current month, that is July 2020, then the due date is 20th August, of course, but they can certainly file, if it is a nil return, they can file it till 30th September, for which there will be no late fee. But the due date for July 20th is the normal date, which is August. But if you look at all the due date for taxpayers having turnover of more than 4 crores, only for February, March, and April there was a relaxation to 24th of June. Otherwise, for May it was again 27th June, but for June and July it is the usual date. The relaxation which they got, taxpayers having more than 5 crores turnover during the preceding year, the relaxation that they got is a reduction in rate of interest. Instead of 18% interest rate applicable to them for delay in payment, making payment of their tax liability, they are allowed to pay 9% rate of interest, half of 18%, 50% waiver was made, half of the interest rate was applicable if they were filing it before the extended date, on or before the extended date. But if they fail to not to pay or not to file on or before the extended date, then 18% tax rate is applicable from the due date itself. So this is something which many taxpayers have certainly understood, but still some people feel that the due date has been extended, which is not the case. The second category of the taxpayers, as we know,
the taxpayers of different different states have been categorized in two categories, category 1 and category 2. And those taxpayers having turnover up to 5 crores, they have been in fact allowed slightly more time to file their 3B. And if you look at this particular slide, you can find that starting from February till August, in fact, August one came very recently. The February, March, April, May, and June, and also July, the due date was extended by the government for these taxpayers to file their GSTR 3B. I'm not reading out. I think all of us, we are to a great extent we are acquainted with the notifications and the dates. But here also the interest benefit was extended to the taxpayers at the rate of 50% instead of 18% applicable interest rate. 9% interest rate is applicable if they pay it within the extended date. Yeah, and similarly, for August 2020, August month, the due date, please remember, for July the due date is 27th September for category A states, and for July it is 29th September for category B states. Otherwise, it would have been 22nd or 24th. The usual date for filing GSTR 3B for category A state is 22nd of the succeeding month and 24th for the category B states. But now for July, the date of filing of 3B is 27th and 29th for category A and category B states. And even for August, the due date has been prescribed as 1st of October. Instead of 22nd September and 24th September, it is 1st of October and 3rd of October. So this is something which is a great benefit to the taxpayers in the pandemic situation, because offices were closed down and people were not able to work. Now, when we talk about GSTR 1, we have two category of taxpayers who file GSTR 1. Taxpayers up to 1.5 crore taxable turnover, they are allowed to file it on quarterly basis if they opt for it from the beginning of the year. Otherwise, we file GSTR 1 on monthly basis. Now, for GSTR 1 filing also, they have waived the late fee for March, April, May, and June. July, August, I think there is no notification for July and August. But for March, April, May, and June, if someone files the GSTR 1, if he has opted for monthly basis, if he files it within the extended date, then there will be no late fee. Otherwise, late fee for GSTR 1 is 100 rupees plus 100 rupees, 200 rupees per day. But otherwise, in this case, someone can file it within the extended date to avoid nil late fee in respect to filing of GSTR 1. Similarly, those who have opted for filing on quarterly basis, even for January to March 2020 quarter, the date is 17th July. Today is 6th, until we have 11 days more time to file the quarterly GSTR 1 for January to March 2020. And for April to June, it is 3rd of August. It is 3rd of August. Now, another very important provision which they have made in this pandemic situation is, if you go through notification number 35, there they had made a provision that any compliance by the department or by any authority which failed due till 20th day of March to 29th day of June, it was extended up to 30th day of June. That means that time was the beginning of the pandemic situation, and from 20th March to 29th of June, any compliance of completion of any time limit or compliance of any action by any authority, the date was extended till 30th of June. Now, recently on the 27th of June, by notification number 55, that 29th June has again been extended till 30th day of August. So many taxpayers will also get a relief by way of extension of this particular date they'll get more time for preparation now. Yeah. We were discussing about filing of nil return by sending an SMS. In fact, notification 58, which came on 1st of July 2020, provides that both 3B and 1 can be filed just by sending an SMS to a designated SMS number by a taxpayer. And they have one OTP will come to the registered mobile number, and automatically following the process, they have also given a flyer which is available in the public domain, indicating the simple process through which someone can file even nil return by sending SMS. Next, very relevant issue is, of course, GSTR 4 filing for financial year 1920 also date has been extended till 15th of July, and the CMP 08 form, which is required to be filed by the composite taxpayers, that date was also for January to March tax period quarter, that has been extended till 7th of July. Now the period for non-resident taxpayers, input service distributors, the TDS and TCS taxpayers has also been extended for the month of March, April, and May. For June onwards, there is no such extended date. Only March, April, and May has been extended for return filing by non-resident taxpayers, input service distributors, TDS and TCS taxpayers. Now, one very important provision that they have made is relating to the sub-rule 4 of Rule 36 of CGST rules. We all are quite aware about the sub-rule 4 of Rule 36. In fact, many of us, we are aware that this sub-rule 4 of Rule 36 was introduced on 9th October 2019 in the CGST rules 2017, where they amended the rules. And we all know that according to this sub-rule 4 of Rule 36, a registered person can avail input tax credit in respect of the invoices, the details of which have not been uploaded by the suppliers and not reflecting in GSTR 2A of the particular registered person. And when it was started, only ITC up to 20% of the total eligible ITC was allowed, and later on that 20% became 10% with effect from 1st January 2020. So part of October, November, and December, 20% of the ITC was allowed, which was not reflecting in GSTR 2A for a particular taxpayer, and from January, 10% of the ITC which was not reflecting in GSTR 2A was allowed as per this Rule 36(4). There was in fact, we will not discuss about the pros and cons of Rule 36(4) per se. There are many issues, or rather we have crossed that stage where we were discussing whether it is supposed to be, it is good or not good, or required, not required. We'll not discuss that. But fact remains, it affects to the cash flow of many taxpayers. Those taxpayers who have a very poor vendor management, particularly, they suffer a lot due to the provision of sub-rule 4 of Rule 36, including very big taxpayers. Because the department has started sending notices if there is a mismatch between the ITC availed and ITC eligible ITC as per GSTR 2A. We all know that this particular rule limits 10% of the ITC which is not reflecting in GSTR 2A for a particular month. Now, the changes that they have made in this wide notification number 30 2020 central tax dated 3/4 is the provision says now that the Sub-rule 4 of rule will not be applicable for February, March, April, May, June, July, and August. I repeat, sub-rule 4 of Rule 36 will actually be not applicable for February, March, April, May, June, July, August 2020. Someone can file GSTR 3B ignoring the provision of sub-rule 4 of Rule 36, but the cumulative effect, the cumulative adjustment of the input tax credit of all these months, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, and September, 9 months, will have to be reflected in the month of September. I have in fact made a case study, a situation where we can understand this particular provision better. Now, let us say in situation 1, a particular company X Limited, has taken 5,600 rupees total ITC, different amount, different month, according to his purchase register. So let's say all the conditions are fulfilled, and only he is not comparing it with GSTR 2A and taking the entire ITC as per the eligibility, and ITC which based on, let's say, invoice or based on his purchase. So for February, March, April, May, June, July, August, 7 months ITC he takes on provisional basis, ignoring provision of sub-rule 4 of Rule 36. Now, let us say against this 5,600, 4,940 rupees for different months, different amount I have taken, is reflecting in GSTR 2A. While filing the GSTR 3B for the month of September, right? For September 2020 also he can take it on provisional basis, but if at all he has taken excess ITC in the month of February to August, then the cumulative amount to which he is eligible as per sub-rule 4 of Rule 36, then he has to reverse if he has taken excess. But if he has not taken excess, then he can take only the difference of the cumulative amount in respect to all this 8 months. Starting from February to September, he will calculate how much ITC he is eligible to take for 8-month block for as per the rule, sub-rule 4 of Rule 36, and he has to make an adjustment in the GSTR 3B for the month of September 2020. So many people are following, different people are following different strategies for this. Some people are not actually taking this particular provision into consideration, and they are following sub-rule 4 of Rule 36 for every month. That will give them a kind of comfort of computation for the month of September 2020. But the provision, the notification allows a taxpayer to take ITC on provisional basis, ignoring sub-rule 4 of Rule 36 for this block period or taxable period for the which starts from February, continues up to September 20. The only difficulty here is if the taxpayer has taken excess ITC for this block period of February to August, and his eligible ITC as per 2A is less, then he has to reverse it. And my opinion is interest is applicable. Nowhere the interest is not actually waived here. Interest is applicable for such reversal of ITC. Now that is why maybe month of July, month of August, someone should review if he has started taking ITC ignoring the provision of Rule 4 sub-rule 36 for first 4-5 months. Then I think June, July, August is a month where he should start reviewing, and the vendor management again will play a very crucial role here. And he is getting quite a significant period to chase his suppliers and ensuring that they file their return. Apart from this, we have a few other provisions which are also important. I'll take 5 minutes more, not much. The due date for furnishing Form GSTR 9 and 9C. We all know that taxpayers having turnover of more than 2 crore, they have to file an annual return and or reconciliation statement, audit what we call as under section 35(5), and while by filing a Form GSTR 9C, that date has now been extended till 30th of September 2020. I'll not say this is exclusively due to pandemic, but this was earlier till 30th of June, but now that date has been extended till 30th of September. So July, August, September, we have less than 3 months time to complete Form GSTR 9 and 9C, if applicable to anyone, on or before 30th September. Then two more issues I would like to discuss. One is relating to the goods which has been damaged, because a lot of traders, a lot of manufacturers, they experience that due to pandemic situation, they a lot of input material and stock in trade and work in process got destroyed or got damaged. And what will be the provision in relation to reversal of ITC in such case? I can only discuss the provision of section 17 subsection 5 clause H, where the ITC is blocked for anything which is given free, or anything which is given as a gift, or anything which is stolen, or anything which is destroyed or written off. So goods, if it has been destroyed because of maybe non-selling or non-use, then ITC on input material and the stock in trade is to be reversed, in my opinion. That is, sir is here, he will probably discuss it further. So section 17(5)(h) restricts goods which has been destroyed. It's not saying damaged, it's saying destroyed. Goods which has been damaged, of course, are to be destroyed ultimately, because we are not able to sell them. And maybe sometimes we have to give accounting entry by writing it off. So in such case, ITC is blocked on such destruction of goods. That is, no provision has been made in respect to this so far. Another is many taxpayers are using a lot of PPE equipments and hand sanitizers and gloves and other equipments to in their day-to-day activity. Whether ITC will be available on that or not, I think it is definitely in not a personal consumption, because using a face mask, hand wash and sanitization is as per guideline and it is certainly a business expenditure, and ITC should be allowed on this. But if someone gifts let's say masks or hand sanitizer or PPE equipments or gloves to others in a benevolent act, I think ITC will not be allowed, because again it comes in form of a gift or a personal consumption. So and one more issue which also taxpayers have encountered in this pandemic situation is rent, particularly on commercial property. A lot of commercial property which was given on rent, and as the business was sought and the economic activity was not taking place, many taxpayers also implemented the force majeure clause in of a contract. Now question is whether it still the owner has to raise an invoice, or is it still a taxable supply or not, even if so, whether it would be taxable on accrual basis or not, whether GST is payable on accrual basis or not. That is a question also many people face or encounter with. In my opinion, as the value of service provided CJs during lockdown period, maybe as per contractual condition also. So there is no value of supply, and as such, probably the owner of the commercial property need not raise any tax invoice, and it is not, because it is not a taxable supply on accrual basis. I think I have covered the issues which I had planned to discuss, particularly in the context of GST provisions made through various notifications to deal with the COVID situation. Looking forward to VS Date sir and announcer session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, CMA Shiva Prasad Padi sir, for nice presentation and explaining the various measures with case studies. Thank you, sir. Now time's come to welcome the most awaited dignitary, the tax guru, CMA CS BS Dati sir, to address on critical analysis of GST. Sir, namaskar.
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 Okay, so I'm happy to be here. We'll start our deliberations and main issues we'll discuss some controversial or critical issues in GST. We'll share my PPT. I hope it will work. It is not working. I have to, the PPT,
PPT is not showing, sir.
no, he's showing that I think now it should work.
One minute, sir.
He has allowed me. So that is
Yes.
why
One minute, sir. I will contact the IT person. 1 minute.
Sir, go to share slide, not share your screen. Go to share slide, the second one. Share slide.
Huh?
Go to
Share.
share slide.
Share slide, sir.
Share slide. The second option. If you click that.
you see, it's, the message is denied to start screen share. So share slide, you mean?
Share, sir.
Share slide.
Then you upload your presentation file there. Then select from library.
Upload from my
Yeah, you upload your file there. Then select from library.
I think it is showing uploading.
Sir, now showing.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
But technology has its own problems. Okay, so I will start now.
Yes, sir.
As you know, 3 years, GST is 3 years, baby. Now, generally, we say ki if some business or anything lasts for 3 years, so then it will work. So, hope now GST will, no, something else. Okay, now can you see the PPT or?
Yes, sir. It is.
Okay. So the idea of GST, as you know, was initiated to create a national market and to avoid cascading effect of taxes. Now we can say that, I mean, after 3 years, we can say that GST is neither a grand success nor a big failure. So, but still now we have to live with GST. So as we know, we have to learn to live with Corona. We have to learn to live with GST also. What are the achievements of GST if you see in brief? I mean, one of the target was to achieve national market. If you ask me, almost about 75% has been achieved, and that's a very good achievement considering the present constitutional issues. Now, avoid cascading effect of taxes. That also about 70% has been achieved. within the given situation, that is the best thing that can be done. Now, there are problems due to overlapping of VAT and service tax. More or less, these have been eliminated. That also has been a great achievement. Another big achievement is abolition of check post. Now, as you know, check post was taking a lot of time of trucks, and lot of truck hour and manpower was getting wasted. Now it is reported that efficiency of truck transport has been increased by at least 20-25%. So that is a very good achievement. But the only one flip side is that there is no abolition of harassment through road checks. Now, road checks, it is very easy to find some small mistake in your document or some e-way bill, and then actually it has the e-way bill checking, road checking has become official highway robbery, and department has to do some, even minor thing is that they impose 100% penalty and 100% tax. That is sheer harassment. Okay, some 5% may be doing mischief, but 90%, 5% are genuine people. These genuine people are suffering due to this roadside robbery. Now, what are the unique features of GST as introduced in India? Concept of IGST is a unique idea. It has nowhere else been tried, and IGST is a game changer. Whatever success you can see in the GST is only because of IGST. Because the beauty of IGST, see, earlier in the VAT regime, the taxes were going from one state, goods were going from one state to other, but taxes were remaining within the state. And so there was a mismatch. Goods go, but taxes do not go, then you have to claim refund and all that. It was a big headache. Now, the beauty of IGST is that taxes and goods move together. If goods move from Maharashtra to Gujarat, taxes go from to Gujarat through the mechanism of IGST. From Gujarat, if goods go to MP, taxes also go to MP. That is a unique idea, and that is an excellent idea, and that is one of the major reasons of success of GST. Now, again, GST is on supply. It is not on manufacture or sale. See, this changes the entire structure of tax. But many people have still hangover of the past. Those who have wherein have had, they have hangover of VAT. Those who are in service tax, they are hangover of service tax. And the concept of service tax or VAT, they try to bring in GST. And even department also has the same problem. That is, they are not able to get over hangover of the past. If they were in VAT, they try to apply this VAT concept to GST, which is not suitable, and then it creates many problems. Same thing, if you are familiar with excise, you try to bring the excise concept, for example, manufacture. Now, there is no concept of manufacture in GST, but still you try to bring that concept, and it creates many. So, unless that hangover goes, the problems will continue. Now, dual structure of GST, that we already know that is the best, within the given situation, that is the best thing. Uniform law on goods and services all over India, that I would say is the greatest achievement of GST. Because suppose you had to do business in many states, you had to learn businesses of, tax laws of many states. Now that problem is over, because there is uniform law on goods and services. So it is surely ease of doing business across the country. What are some special aspects of Indian GST? The center-state cooperation at unprecedented level. 30 states of which there are different political parties, different thinking, but still they have come together and in the GST Council. And it's a unique achievement that all the decisions so far in GST Council, except one, have been with consensus and not by voting. That is a big achievement. And that federal structure of people can come together. That is a beautiful thing that has happened. Another flip side is one of the most complex GST laws in the world. In hierarchy, I think Brazil comes one and Indian GST law comes second in GST law. Many things could have been simplified, but for example, there is no concept of ABC analysis. I will give you some small example. Invoice matching. Okay, invoice matching is a good idea, but if you try to match crores and crores of invoice, the system cannot take that load. Now, for example, there are many invoices which are small amount, 100 rupees, 200 rupees, or even 1 rupee. There is no point in matching those invoices. So in ABC analysis, you select some invoices above 10,000 or say 1 lakh, whatever it may be, and match them. So 80% your work is done with 20% of the effort. So they don't do ABC analysis. And there are many, say for registration also, they don't do each and every thing they try to bring under registration, and it creates any number of issues and litigation. So they have to apply this ABC concept. Even in input tax credit, even minor input tax credit, they tend to disallow. For example, input tax credit on samples and gifts. Now, okay, technically, legally, it is correct, but what is the cost benefit analysis? What cost you are incurring in calculating all those? What is the compliance cost, and what is the benefit? So that the department is not now. Biggest failure in GSTN, as everyone knows, is GSTN. Now, they have their own reasons, that is a different issue. But ultimately, at the ground level, the fact is that GSTN is a big failure. Almost 50% of the problems in GST are due to system. Which that system is the law in itself. That is the worst part of it. Now, the difficulties in now, of course, the things are improved. But earlier, it was a nightmare. Not in filing return. Now, लोग नाचते थे एक बार return file हो गया. That was the situation. Now it has improved, but still not up to the mark. Now again, one of the provision is that unless supplier has paid the tax, you cannot take the credit. Otherwise, you have to reverse it. Now there is no mechanism by which I know whether my supplier has paid the tax. Now from GSTR1, I know that is upload the invoice, but that is not equivalent to payment of tax. Another is GST is master. Many times he acts against the law, but assessee is helpless. I will give some simple example. Now, GST system doesn't accept a return unless you pay the tax. Now, law never says so, because filing return, if you remember earlier in service tax and excise duty, you are allowed to file a return without payment of taxes. Now it is not permitted. So I cannot take the input tax credit. Suppose I am having financial problem, but still I want to file a return so that I can avail my input tax credit. Otherwise, then the issue starts. So then there are 2, 3, for example, returns. Now returns also, this department circular say that returns are allowed across the financial year. You can file a return claim across the financial year. System doesn't allow. So system has its it decides what is allowable. Many times you are not able to file your refund claim because the systems hack some very funny way. Now, after this, we'll discuss some critical issues or some problematic issues which the assessees are facing. One of the major burning problem today is interest for late payment of taxes. Now, whether that interest is payable on gross amount or net amount. Now, at present, department is taking a stand. Now, for example, I am liable to pay tax of 100, and I have got 80 as input tax credit. I am on cash actually pay. I have to pay only 20 rupees. But according to
Sir,
department, I am
sir,
liable to pay
excuse me.
interest of 100 rupees. Now, this is now actually in it's
Sir, excuse me.
yes, yes,
Sir,
yes.
PPT is not forwarding, sir.
No, acha, no, we know interest for late payment. You
Only
are not able.
Is it
Huh?
starting PPT is there?
Only you are seeing starting PPT.
Yeah, yes.
I don't know what is because I can see the current because the upload I did and then I upload it.
Yeah, then forward next, sir, next. Yes, sir. It is coming.
No, but after that वो next का menu ही नहीं आता है. Anyway, let me see. Try again. Now I should open the file.
Actually, starting PPT is there. No forwarding PPT.
But how to forward? Change slide.
Sir,
Now
next page. Padi sir will tell. Padi sir. Hello. Padi sir, can you help?
Sir, you click your PPT, you will find buttons there at the below you find, slide 1 to 4 or 1 to 5. You click on that arrow mark. Yeah.
Slide 1 to 16. Correct. Okay. Now slide 2 to 6.
Yeah.
3 years. Now can you see the
You click
slides?
that arrow mark. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
Now,
it is visible now.
this
Yes.
slide is 3 years of GST. Can you read that? Achievements.
Yes, sir. Achievements. National Market about
So now it is
75%
coming, I
achieved.
think. Now, can you see the slide? Interest for late payment of taxes. Can you see that slide?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Interest for late payment of taxes. Now,
Yes.
whether it is in, okay. So now I think it is. I got it because
Okay.
the change slide it goes somewhere else. Now, interest for late payment of taxes, whether on gross amount or net amount. Now, there are a lot of dispute and department was earlier taking a stand that it should be on gross amount. Now, actually, suppose my gross liability is 100 and I have got input tax credit of 60. Actually, I am liable to pay only 40 rupees to government. But still government is, I mean, the department is taking a stand that interest is payable on a total 18%. Now, actually, what is interest? If you see the basic principle of interest is compensation. Interest is not penalty. In Pratibha processors, the Supreme Court has observed that interest is compensatory in nature. That is, I use government money, so I have to pay the interest. Essentially, it is compensatory and different from penalty. Then this is the consistent view of. So now, how much money I am using of government? I am using only 40 rupees. I am not using a total 100 rupees. So technically, I should be in principle of interest. I should be liable to pay GST only on amount of cash, which is 40 rupees. Now, here the hitch is that I am not allowed to file a return if I don't pay tax. Now, if I file that return and without payment of tax, if that was allowed, then I would have claimed my input tax credit and then my net liability would have been 100. But this GSTN network is acting high-handed manner and it is not allowing me to file a return and claim the input tax credit. So, then department says you pay on 100. Now that is absolutely, you can say, unfair. Now, and the most unfair part is government is ignoring GST Council. That is the most unfair part of it. In 2 meetings of GST Council had clearly said that interest should be payable on net amount. Now, in fact, they have passed the section allowing saying that interest should be payable on net amount. But that section they have not yet made effective. And that is just unfair. And that is just crookedness of government department. There is no simple word for that. Department is just crooked. And they are not following even the instructions of GST Council. And of course, let us see what ultimately emerges. But according to me, on all fairness, even according to Supreme Court view, the interest should be payable on net. Now, the next issue is remuneration to whole-time and executive directors. Now again this issue whether the remuneration paid to whole-time directors is liable to GST under reverse charge. And there were contrary decisions of AAR because one AAR said that on salary paid to whole-time directors and executive director also reverse charge applies and company is liable to pay GST under reverse charge. Now, as you are aware, that there are broadly two types of directors. One is executive director or whole-time directors. Other are non-executive directors, independent directors. Now, as far as non-executive directors and independent directors, there is no issue. They are not employees of the company. So their company is liable to pay GST under reverse charge. There is no argument, no dispute. Dispute is regarding this remuneration which is paid to whole-time directors. Now, in case of whole-time directors or executive directors, there is an employer-employee relationship. They are employees and company is the employer. So they are in two different capacities. They are directors also, but they are employees also. Now, in case of Schedule 3, services of employee to employer are neither goods nor service. Now, whole-time or executive directors as employee, so there should be no GST and there should be no reverse charge. Now, there are contrary decisions of AAR. Now, luckily, you see, a very rare situation that as soon as the controversy arose, department has issued a circular that no GST is payable and there is no reverse charge on salary paid to whole-time directors or executive directors. That we must congratulate department that they took fast action. Really, they should do it every time, because you see AAR, I mean, ultimately, another failure in the GST system is authority of advance ruling, because most of the decisions are favoring the department, and as will happen in show cause notice, as soon as show cause notice means demand is confirmed. Same thing happening that AAR, most of the decisions are in favoring revenue. So really, if you ask me, any sensible person should not go to AAR. You should go to advance authority ruling only when you want a decision of tax liability on higher side. Because what happens, for example, you go to a government department and then government department इसमें GST नहीं लगने वाला है, 5% लगने वाला है. It is very difficult to fight with that government department. Then simple solution is go to AAR, take the decision that GST liability is 18% and show that decision to government department, and or some PSU. PSU are also equally notorious, and they many times they refuse to pay GST. So there you go to advance ruling, get a decision and show them. Otherwise, I don't think there is any other use of AAR. Or another use is if you want to harass your competitor, go to AAR and take a decision of higher rate and then let him suffer. Otherwise, it is useless to go to AAR. Now, another issue is transitory provisions, transfer provisions. As you know, initially, I mean, now GST in system is slightly better, but earlierly it was hopeless, third-class system. There is no other word for that. And many people, they could not even get transited to new GSTN. They could not get registration. They could not file Trans 1 because GSTN system was not working at all. And then in many High Court decisions, they said, no, you have to give time to, you have to allow the assessee to file Trans 1 because he was not able to do it because of system failure. Now, the department has come out with retrospective amendment to nullify effect of Delhi High Court judgment. The High Court seriously you have to open and let them allow the file the Trans 1. Now, to get over that Delhi High Court decision, they have made retrospective amendment to the section. Now, if you remember, when BJP came to power, they had made a clear promise that there will be no retrospective amendment, because the most notorious retrospective amendment, as you know, is of Vodafone. And the BJP said, no, we are not going to do this such retrospective amendment. And BJP has gone back on that promise, and they have made a retrospective amendment to nullify Delhi High Court judgment, which was really which is still a fair judgment. Now, anyway, that amendment, maybe legally you can say that the government has, I mean, Parliament has power to pass with retrospective effect, and the amendment may be legally correct. But it is clearly unfair to penalize an assessee he is suffering due to fault of GSTN. So that amendment is clearly unfair. Another issue is regarding, I mean, that issue has recently cropped up. Sale of developed plot. Now, as you know, a landowner or developer, he takes a land, say maybe 1 acre, 2 acre, 5 acre, 10 acre, whatever it may be. He develops internal load, sanitation, electricity poles and all that. And then fencing and say maybe security cabin, maybe guest house, library, something like that. And then he develops the plots and then sell individual plot to the buyer. So buyer plots and he builds on his. Now, recently, advance authority ruling has given a decision that GST is payable on sale of developed plat. Now it has opened a Pandorama's box, because so far the impression was that on sale of developed plat, GST is not payable. Legally, I can agree that GST can be levied on sale of land. Legally, GST can be, because you see, if you see the definition of service, what the definition says, anything other than goods is service. So land, sale of land is a service, and GST constitutionally can be imposed on GST. But that has been specifically excluded in Schedule 3. And Schedule 3 says that sale of land is neither goods nor service. Now here, you develop land and sell a plot. But what is the sale of plot? It is sale of plot is still a sale of land. So what the developer is doing is he is doing value addition to the land so that he can get a better price of the land. If he doesn't do value addition, he will not get that price. So he is doing value addition to sale of land, and then he gets a better price. But the fact remains that the sale of flat continues to be sale of land. Sale of plot is, even despite the value addition, the fact remains that in fact it is registered as sale of land, if you know the registration. So sale of plot is nothing but sale of land. Though despite value addition, it is still sale of land, and really GST should not be payable. But now once the AR decision is there, now demands will start, show cause notice will start, confirmation, appeals, and all that issue will start. And so at least here also, at least hope department will come out with some guidelines soon. But otherwise, the decision is a completely wrong decision. Now another is some services by employer to employees. This again is going to create a lot of problem. People are not fully aware of that. Now, as you know, services by employer to employer, they are neither goods nor service. But services by employer to employee, they are taxable. Now, you see, reverse is not true. Services by employer to employees are, now people are still, because people are not, I think, not aware of this provision that employer and employee has been defined as related persons. And once it is a related person, any service provided is taxable even if there is no consideration. You see, normally consideration is required, but in case of related person, consideration is not required. So services provided by employer to employee, if you go by strict wording of the law, they are taxable. Now I will tell you, for example, canteen. Now canteen, many times free food is given. The free food is given. Now, is it taxable or not taxable? It is, if you see the definition, because employer and employer related person. So even if there is no consideration, actually, if you go by law, service tax is GST is payable on open market value on the canteen services provided to employee. Like so far, I don't think many are paying. Now issues will come. Now. There is one argument that those who are having 250 or more employees, then under that provision of canteen is mandatory. So I am providing mandatory canteen facilities. So no GST is payable because that is a mandatory requirement. Now, okay, now I think department has also more or less agreed that if you are coming under Factories Act more than 250 employees, and then if you are providing canteen facilities, GST is not payable. So if department is happy with that, let us be happy with that department's view. But let me tell you one thing, that under Factories Act, provision of canteen is mandatory. You must provide it free or at low cost. That is not mandatory at all under Factories Act. So you cannot say free canteen. Canteen is mandatory. Free canteen is not mandatory under Factories Act. But now department has said कि okay 250 के ऊपर हो गया है आपका mandatory, so Factory Act में आप covered है तो. But actually it is not correct, that issue. But if you are less than 250 employees, then surely this problem is going to come. If you are providing canteen facilities to employees at free cost or lower cost, then technically and legally GST is payable on open market value of the food. and many times the content is outsourced. It is better that you collect the money from employer and give it to the contractor, don't come in between, but still problems are possible. Now transport service provided to employee. Now many times the recovery is made, sometimes recovery is not made. In both the cases, the service provided is taxable, because as I said, employer and employer related person, and if a service is provided to related person, it is taxable whether or not you pay, whether or not you recover the money. No consideration is required. Similarly, insurance of employee. This also is going to create problems if you provide free insurance to employees. So any service provided by employer to employee, you are going to face difficulties in. Now audits have just started. Now when the audits start, many issues will come up, and this dispute is surely one of them. Now there are many refund issues also. In case of exports, it is now, export, there are two situations. One, either you pay IGST and claim refund from custom department, or you don't pay IGST and then you take refund of input tax credit. Now those who are familiar with the refund with the GST department, they must be knowing it is very, very difficult to get refund of input tax credit of because and then you have to furnish so many documents, and they will always find some problem in your claim, and either they will reject or they will pass with another difficulty in case of export is that you don't get any refund of GST paid on capital goods, so that is a loss. So in and comparatively, if you pay IGST and claim refund, that is comparatively much simpler. Now people are not, and that is possible, of course, in case of goods. In case of services, custom department doesn't mean. But in case of goods, if you want quick refund, that is a better option. Now many people do it because they say that my funds get blocked. But if you manage wisely, it will be a much better alternative than to try to claim refund of input tax credit. Now, many invoices do not get reflected in GSTR 2A. Now, I am helpless. Many times your supplier uploads the GSTR in 1, but they don't get reflected in your GSTR 2A. It is clearly system failure. Then again, I cannot know whether supplier has paid the GST. So these are the issues, many issues. Now again, LUT, that is an unnecessary headache, and it is an empty formality just provided to department to harass the assessee. What is the purpose of LUT? When everything is documented, what is the purpose of giving LUT? But it is an easy way to harass the simple way, because many assessees are not clear. And in fact, there is department circular that even if LUT, letter of undertaking, is not executed, but still the export has been done, then refund claim cannot be denied. But there is a simple and sure way to harass the assessee. I think that provision of LUT is made only for that purpose, so that department can then extract money from the assessee. Otherwise, I don't see any purpose of that LUT. Then again, refund in case of inverted duty structure, that again is a big issue, because firstly that refund is only in case of goods. It is not on input services and capital goods, so that is a big loss. And there also there is that GSTR 2A में आपका invoice नहीं दिखता है, matching नहीं होता है. Suppose part is your taxable and part is 18% and part is 5%, and then you may say any number of problems. So that is again there are many issues, and many times people बोलते हैं कि छोड़ो यार, अभी ये better to forget about that refund than to enter into so much litigation and documentation. Now, e-invoicing. Now, as you know, people now they are going to start e-invoicing. Now they are thinking of 1st October. I have my own doubts whether they will be able to introduce from this e-invoicing. But I will tell you, it's a good idea. If it works well, it is a good idea. Now, initially they are saying that above 500 crores, they will introduce e-invoicing. And now, what is the basic idea of e-invoicing? Is that to get information in standard format. as format of invoices of each taxable person are different. Now, for example, you are using SAP, your format of invoicing is different. If you are doing Tally, then formatting of invoice is different. So if Tally invoice you send to some person using SAP, matching is not possible. Now, e-invoicing, all these uh, pro, programs you are using, whether Tally, SAP or whatever invoice, they will come in standard format. They will come in a common format. So whatever software you use for your documentation or invoice, it will be converted in e-invoice in a standard format. Now, for example, your suppliers may be using different types of programs, and the invoicing format will be different, but once it is converted into e-invoicing, it will be a standard format. You can just download and match them. It's a very simple way of it will be very simple way if such across the assessees matching on a standard level is possible, and that is an excellent idea. So the invoicing formats or document format, data format of Tally, SAP, etc. are not interchangeable, but if they are converted into a common format on e-invoicing, they will be interchangeable and matching will be very easy. So if it works, it is a very good idea. Now, once e-invoicing is introduced, if you ask me, that GSTR 1 should become redundant. In fact, if possible, you can link e-invoicing with e-way bill also, so it will be an integrated process. But I hope that once e-invoicing is introduced, then GSTR 1 should become redundant. It will be as soon as you prepare document, you can get invoicing generated. The recipient knows that your invoicing has been generated, goods are gone. It's a beautiful way. Hope it works. Now, if it functions like e-way bill, now as you know, e-way bill system is working reasonably well. Quite there are very few complaints about e-way bill. So if this e-invoicing platform works like a e-way bill portal, it will be welcome. But if it works like GSTR, then it will be a big headache and nightmare. So let us hope that it works like a e-way bill portal and not like GSTN portal. We can only pray and hope. But if it works, it will simplify many things. Now, Ms. Pradis have also discussed many issues regarding block credit. Now, some legitimate business expenditure is disallowed. Now, for example, providing bus travel to employees, providing food to employees, medical facilities to employees. These all are for the purpose of business. It is in my interest that the employee is happy. If employee is happy, then he will do good work. So these are completely business related expenditure. But they say it is personal expenditure, so it is not allowed. Now Padisar was giving example of COVID related, hand gloves, mask, etc. This is a statutory requirement. This is not for personal benefit of employee. This is if I don't give them gloves and helmets and safety equipment, I will come in trouble. I will have to go to jail because I will be violating the legal provision. So it is not for personal, and really it is a statutory provision. Input tax credit should be available. Now, gift and price free sample, as you know, input tax credit is not available. Now, if you go by basic principle of GST, principle it is all right that if you give free gifts and free sample, its credit should not be available. But ultimately, you have to make cost benefit analysis. Now, what are the compliance costs? Now, that gifts and free sample, it may be hardly 1 to 3% of your turnover. And to pay that GST or to reverse input tax credit on gift, and you are spending much more than that. So what is the compliance cost and what is the revenue going to go? So ultimately, if you make a cost benefit analysis, what is the cost assessee is incurring, then during audit, harassment and all that, if you consider that, it will be much better to forget about, but as you know, department doesn't do ABC analysis. It is penny wise and pound foolish. So that harassment is not likely to stop. But And in fact, really free samples, it is not free. It is actually used for my business purpose. Gifts are also for my business purpose. I am not doing any charity, and its GST should be allowed, but department is penny wise and found foolish, so they are not allowing. Motor vehicles, again for legitimate business purposes, motor vehicles has to be allowed. But for some unknown reason, the Babu is unhappy with motor vehicles, so he is not allowing. And in the, as you know, many of you must be working in PSU. Once the Babu says something, even Modi ji is helpless. That is the power Babu has. Now, construction services, no, they are really legitimate expenditure. They should be allowed, but not allowed. Now, goods lost in fire. Okay, now you see, I am already suffering a big loss because the goods are lost due to fire. And in addition, now government says कि you paid input tax credit or you reverse input tax. Now that is, अरे इसका तो sympathy दिखाओ कि he has already lost the goods in fire. Why again you are penalizing it further? Now services received in other states like hotel. Now for example, you are in Orissa and your employee goes to Calcutta for business purposes. Now he stays in a hotel. Now the hotel wala has to charge CGST and SGST of West Bengal. Now that credit is not available. Now actually it is against the principle of one nation, one tax. But they say it is not allowable. That again is unfair. This credit should be, CGST should be allowed. But now some tribunal decisions have come that CGST is also not allowed. In fact, the GST system has made a law that its credit is not allowed. No, so as I said, the GST system makes its own laws and force people to follow that law, though actually it is illegal. No, and at least CGST credit has to be allowed in other states because it is CGST is pan-India tax. Now, there are many critical issues. So, what in the brief time we have discussed is only tip of iceberg. There are many more complications, and many complications will arise when the audits start. Now, luckily, audits have just started, so many audit queries will come and many litigation will come. At least this litigation, GST is not likely to settle in at least for next 10-15 years. So, no worry about job security to persons in GST department. इनफैक्ट फैक्ट्री भी बंद हो गया तो आप वो जीएसटी वाले का एम्प्लॉय चालू ही रहेगा. कंसल्टेंट ऑल्सो दे डोंट हैव टू वरी अबाउट देयर बिजनेस. योर बिजनेस फॉर योर एंटायर लाइफ इज ऑलरेडी secured in the whatever issues are created in last 3 years. Now, if you ask me to do ranking of GST, if you ask me what is the ranking basic structure of GST, I would say I will give you 90% marks within the given situation. The basic structure of IGST, it could not have been better. Now, drafting of law, it is hodgepodge. You see, there are some provisions that are taken from VAT, some provisions from service tax, some provisions from excise, and they have made it a GST law. So it is a hodgepodge law. But still, I would say the drafting of law, at least 70% it is okay. And there are mixing of various VAT laws and all that, so they have made a big issue. But still, I would give 70% marks to the drafting. There are many drafting mistakes, but still I am willing to give implementation. I can give only 30% mark. One of the, of course, major reasons is GST and failure, but even otherwise at department level, they try to harass you. They try to find, instead of helping you, they try to find. So implementation, I would give only 30% mark. Overall, 70% marks I will give to GST. And as I said, that you have to live with Corona, you have to live with GST, and you have to make best possible use of law and try to help. So, thank you very much. Wish you a happy and safe journey in jungle of GST. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for nice presentation and detailed deliberation on critical aspects on GST. We sincerely thanks you, sir, for spending your precious time with us. Actually, we have received 2 or 3 queries. Paddy sir has given reply for one. Then another query, sir. One query is from Antarjami Acharya sir for data sir. As per Factories Act, it is mandatory to change on no profit basis then being statutory should not be under purview of GST.
No, you see, where Factory Act said it should be no profit basis. Have you read the Factories Act, or you are imagining situation?
So- okay.
Factory Act only says that you should provide a canteen if more than 250 employees are there.
Sir, another query is reversal of ITC on damage and destruction. If destruction is not intentional, whether reversal required?
No, you see, in any normal business, some damages, some rejection, some wastage, it is inevitable. 100% you cannot utilize. So as long as the wastage, rejection and damage are within tolerable limits, they should be allowed. But suppose fire हो गया या एकदम earthquake हो गया या flood हो गया, then that as per GST law, it is not allowed. Normal wastage, it is allowed.
Sir, one query is received from Advocate Ramesh Chandra Jena sir. Section 16.4 overriding Section 16.2 for availing ITC is justified.
No, offhand, no, what is the issue? I am not. You
Actually,
let him send me mail. I will just go through that, because exactly just from this, what is his point, I am not able to get.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
So let him send mail, and what is his issue, I will discuss.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, then, thank you.
Okay. Very good evening once again to all. Thank you all for nice participation. You might have faced some inconvenience during presentation, maybe for some technical problem or internet connectivity. The inconvenience caused, if any, is deeply regretted. At the outset, I convey my hearty thanks and deep gratitude on behalf of the organizer to Sri R. Mangababu Sir, IRS, Honorable Chief Commissioner, GST Central Excise and Customs, Bhubaneswar Zone, Odisha, for acceptance of our invitation and grace the webinar. I also convey deep gratitude and hearty thanks to CMA CS BS Date Sir, the tax guru, for his nice deliberation on critical analysis on GST and acceptance of our invitation. My special thanks to CMA Shiva Prasad Padi sir, practice cost accountant of for detailed deliberation on COVID-19 relaxation and relief measures made in GST law, and his continued support to our chapter and the profession. I convey my sincere thanks to CMA Niranjan Mishra sir, CMA H. Padmanabhar sir for their all-time support to our chapter and CMA profession at large. Again, they proved that how much they are committed towards the profession. Thank you, sir, for your wholehearted support and cooperation. My special thanks to CMA Mukesh Chubey, chairman of the chapter, and managing committee members of Bhubaneswar chapter for their support. I also convey my thanks to all the chairmen of other chapters of Odisha and their managing committee members for their association to make the webinar a grand success. Last but not the least, I convey my sincere thanks to all the participants for their active support for participating in the program in large through electronic mode. Thanks to Sandipan Babu, IT expert, for his technical support, and all staffs of Bhubaneswar chapter for their effort. Thanking you all. Jai Jagannath. Sir, namaskar.
Thank you and namaskar.